A lot of times we are feeling like we don't belong and we're not worthy enough to be in that space or in that room or have the answer to a question that was asked to a group of people. And so you're waiting for permission.
Sometimes in corporate America, Black professionals and introverts are perceived as not being as outspoken, assertive as they need to be, and sometimes can be overlooked for opportunities just because they're not vocal enough and they're not building their visibility.
People did not ask you to the meeting for you to just sit there. They did not ask you to go to the meeting so you can be a fly on the wall to take notes. We have all kinds of tools to be taking notes without you being the one to take notes. So don't ever see yourself as the note taker in the room, or I'm just here to listen, because if they wanted someone to be there to listen, they would just send you the recording of the meeting afterward. They asked you to be in that space for a reason. So because your brand speaks for you before you speak for yourself, right?
So what I'm hearing from you is every interaction is an opportunity. Okay, so we're talking about systems today, Aarica, and we're talking about systems that Black professionals and introverts can use to advance and demonstrate the qualities that are needed to move ahead in corporate America. And the first of those traits I want to talk about is assertiveness, being assertive, because sometimes in corporate America, Black professionals and introverts are perceived as not being as outspoken, assertive as they need to be, and sometimes can be overlooked for opportunities just because they're not vocal enough and they're not building their visibility. So, can you talk a little bit about what are some tactics and strategies that we can use in order to make sure that we're being visible? And if we're not being, assertive like an extrovert, what are some tactics we can use to demonstrate the same outcome and reach those goals?
Well, first and foremost, it is not a easy answer, right? I mean, I'll say the answer that I have on my heart, but it's not always going to be what everybody is able to do or feels like they're able to do. So I want to put that out there first, that the main thing is that you have to know thyself and know your environment. So if you have limiting thoughts or beliefs of what you are capable of or what rooms you should be in, that is an opportunity for you to take a real deep look into what those thoughts and beliefs really mean and what they stem from. Because a lot of times we are feeling like we don't belong and we're not worthy enough to be in that space or in that room or have the answer to a question that was asked to a group of people. And so you're waiting for permission, right? You're waiting for permission for someone to say, yes, you can attend this event and speak up, or yes, you can attend this meeting and not just be a fly on the wall. And I know as an African American woman, I grew up knowing that we have to work twice as hard. So we have to be able to do more than our counterparts in order to prove ourselves worthy to be in that space or in that room. And while that still may be true in a lot of circumstances, it really goes back to you knowing who you are and what your purpose is. When you're able to really understand who you are and your goals, you'll be able to better assess from an authentic place what you need to do in order to feel comfortable and confident in the space that you're in. So, for example, if you're going into a meeting space, right, with other peers, leadership team members, and you feel like, I don't know if I should speak up. If they're asking me a question, should I just kind of play it cool, like I'm just here to just be here versus actually contributing? People did not ask you to the meeting for you to just sit there. They did not ask you to go to the meeting so you can be a fly on the wall to take notes. We have all kinds of tools to be taking notes without you being the one to take notes. So don't ever see yourself as the note taker in the room, or I'm just here to listen, because if they wanted someone to be there to listen, they would just send you the recording of the meeting afterwards. They asked you to be in that space for a reason. So it's up to you to figure out what that reason is, or just ask them, hey, I'd love to be in that meeting, can you help me understand a little bit more about what the context of the meeting is, and the skill sets or the the ideas that you're looking for me to kind of bring in. And they'll be able to tell you, yeah, I'm really wanting you to be in here to listen more for these topic areas or to give your insight on this specific piece that we're doing, things like that. But you have to be able to speak up for yourself, right? You have to be able to be that person that's coming in the room, not so much dominating the conversation, because I know that's a little scary for us introverts, because it's like, wow, that's a lot you're asking me to do. But it's not so much about dominating any type of space. It's really knowing who you are and knowing what you bring to the table. You're no longer here to just listen and just to be a fly on the wall. You're here to contribute and to ask the hard questions and to add commentary, right? Make sure it's meaningful, make sure it's thought out, but also make sure that your voice is being heard because, again, they didn't ask you to be in that space just for you to take up another seat. They want you there because you have something to add, you have something to contribute to the conversation. So make sure you step into that and know your value, know your worth.
Wow. So also, what about knowing what you want out of the meeting? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you framed that up really well. You talked about a lot of things. You talked about being clear about who you are, right? And having that type of clarity and secure in who you are
Right.
going into the meeting. Being clear about what your role is in the meeting and get asking those questions and not being afraid to ask and assert yourself, right? So those are all great tips. What about how the meeting is going to benefit you? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you understand whether you're investigating it or you just ask the question like, hey, what are you looking for my role to be in the meeting? Ask that question, but then understand what you are going to do and probably set some goals for yourself, right? So if it's going to be an hour-long meeting, what are you personally trying to get out of it? Are you trying to have some FaceTime with the senior VP who's going to be in the meeting so that way you can introduce yourself, let them know what you're working on, and maybe invite them for coffee? Or is it that you're really trying to understand this new initiative that your company is doing because you want to be a part of it? So that way you can kind of understand in the meeting who the key players are, what are the challenges they're experiencing, so that way you can then do some more research or add some commentary, hard questions, or anything like that to add to the conversation. That way they can start seeing you as a viable stakeholder in the meeting, but also as a potential person they want to add to the actual initiative. So when you have goals in the meeting that you actually want to set forth to say, okay, if I'm going to go to this meeting, I'm going to be here for an hour. What are the key things that I want to walk out of here with? I want to walk out of here with the SVP knowing who I am. I want to walk out of here with an understanding of the initiative and a contact person of who I can follow up with because I'm really interested in jumping on board. Or, I just wanted to come in here and understand what they're doing because this might be a professional development opportunity for me just to understand more about the company. But what I will always say, do not leave the room without them knowing who you are. And it doesn't have to be a grandiose statement. It could just be an introduction to say, hey, everybody, I just really appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Aarica Smith. I'm here to really learn and actually add some value to the conversation where I can, but this is the space that I work in, so I'm really excited to be here. Just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. Short and sweet. People
Hmm.
know that, okay, well, you may not say much else in the meeting, but I know who that person is. I know what they are working in. I know the space that they're in. And more importantly, they know that you want to be here because you express the gratitude for the invitation. That speaks volumes.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. So what I'm hearing from you is every interaction is an opportunity.
Every single interaction is an opportunity. Yes.
Yeah. And being intentional is a theme that you've shared in all that guidance, right? Being intentional,
Hmm.
thinking ahead, knowing what you want. And you have a personal brand whether you realize it or not. And so
Absolutely.
if you walk in and you don't have goals or intention and you're quiet, your personal brand might be that's somebody who's disengaged, somebody who's not interested, somebody who
Hmm.
doesn't have anything to offer. None of that's probably true. So
Right.
if it's not true, approach it with intentionality and be clear about what message you want to send with those interactions.
Absolutely, because your brand speaks for you before you speak for yourself, right? So the way you walk into a space, whether it's the outfit that you're wearing, making sure it looks nice and it screams your colors or the way that you want to appear in the space, whether you're coming into the room loud and boisterous or if you're coming in quiet and you're sitting in the back corner, your body language, the way you move, the way you sit, all of that plays into the role of your brand, right? You're
Yeah.
coming into a space, you want to make sure that you are in a space where you can have some type of authority to know that you're there for a purpose and for a reason. And you want to make sure other people know that as well. Again, us introverts, it doesn't have to be we're storming in the loudest person in the room, making sure everybody knows our name and we're just having all the top tier questions. That's a lot of pressure. and it's not who we are authentically. So we need to make sure that we stay the course of who we are, but also stand up for ourselves. So as I learned when I was a kid, no one's going to toot your own horn. You have to be the one to toot it for you. Now, the volume of how you toot that horn is up to you. But it's up to you to stand up for yourself and be an advocate for yourself, whether it's an opportunity to just meet a leadership member or to be a part of something, or to have another opportunity to say, hey, in the next 6 months to a year, I want to get promoted to that role because that role looks really interesting.